Smoak. Now, Kirby Smart got some cash today, big-time money, over $100 million. And I saw a response to that. Well, that'll keep everybody from thinking he's going to move somewhere else. I never thought that Kirby Smart would be anywhere else other than Georgia.
Well, I mean, where else could you go but the NFL at that level? I mean, so you're a national championship coach at your alma mater that you have made perfectly relevant, not that they weren't relevant, but now really relevant for the first time since 1980. And, so you're pretty much everywhere you want to be. You've made that school into one of the blue bloods and decision makers in all of college football. So they're going to give you, an average of $11 million a year, it looks like, in that contract. So outside of going to the NFL, where's he going to go? Is he going to get the itch to go Brian Kelly somewhere? No. Where's he going to go?
Yeah.
He's in heaven.
Yeah, I never thought of him anywhere but Georgia. Craig?
Yeah, I think it's silly to even, I guess, be somewhat surprised that he's staying at Georgia. I mean, like Paul said, where's he going to go outside of NFL jobs? And I don't know how much he even has interest in something like that. Some coaches do, some coaches don't. But, yeah, making good money. And I think that's one of the parts that I'm interested to see is, how that gulf gets larger with the haves and the have-nots. I mean, you're already seeing some programs that can pay a lot of money to coaches, but if you're suddenly in a situation where there's two leagues, the Super Two, as I've coined them, who are making hundreds of millions of dollars, and they can spend $15 million a year on a head coach, in theory, as much as that sounds ridiculous, as it really when you're already looking at where some of the salaries are, especially if we're talking some of the top-level guys. So he's making 10.25. He's not alone in that ballpark or won't be for long, you know what I mean? So at what point does more of the separation come from just coaches' salaries of where, there might be a non-Big Ten or SEC coach that's out there and that's great and that's doing well outside of whatever that's going to look like. And, here comes a school that's super desperate to win games and they're going to throw $20 million a year at a guy because they're basically the live golf of college football where money's never going to run out. You know what I mean? So that's a part of this whole new chapter that I'm very curious to see because everybody's talking about, NIL and not being able to afford recruits. Well, I think you can still manage to, find the money to land recruits. You may not get some of these guys who are, in the $8 million rumors and things like that, but we've seen Baylor. They can pull up some NIL when they need to, and I know other schools can as well. We've seen what Texas Tech's recent efforts are, so schools can do it. But when you start to get into those big negotiations of, how much in a battle for a Dabo or a Saban or a Kirby Smart or whoever there might be down the line, how much are they commanding at that point? It's going to be very interesting.
Well, when do programs have to make the decision that they just have to totally throttle down football? Because if you don't wind up in the Power 2 or what will maybe ultimately be the A3 or whatever you want to call it when the dust settles in conference realignment. So say you're one of the schools that gets left out, that's behind. I'll just throw out Oregon State. So say you're Oregon State. When do you have to decide, we've got to throttle down football and we'll have it, but our coach is going to make $950,000 a year because that's what we can pay him, and we're out of the rat race now.
Well, I don't think that really applies respectfully because they're not going after those guys, and they have zero chance at those guys. So, yeah, they'll pay their coach $950,000, but any wishes of even throwing an offer at a Saban or a Tucker or any of these guys, that's not going to happen for Oregon State. So, but I know what you're saying.
But at least your dreams of even having a good 5-year run and thinking okay, maybe we're going to build to something, but you can't ever. You just have to admit to yourself that you're chasing your tail.
Well, I mean, Dave Aranda was out the door, according to a lot of national reporters, after year 2 at Baylor, no matter how many times it was said. And I was iffy just because that's the world. If you get money whipped, and I know Aranda's built different, and he's proven that, but, I'm going to think the same thing again this year. I don't think the same thing the year after, so long as there's a tension there because, ultimately there is going to be that draw of money. Not that he's somebody that's going to, fall for that because at some point, how much more do you need? There are some people that say there's never a limit. And there's some people that make $5 million a year, and they're like, you know what? I don't need $15 million a year, as much as that generationally might change my family. So, yeah, I don't know. I found it curious that here's a guy who's going to be making $10+ million, and we've seen other big coaches' contracts over the last couple of years, and I just wonder if that's going to be the next yeah, like you can't compete with us in this arena, and we're going to be the select few who can actually pony up this type of money because we're making this type of money and because we're willing to make this large of an investment, whereas others like in Oregon State will either say, no, we have no chance of doing that, or we'll reach a point where, all right, we've reached our limit of how high we'll go. Going beyond this is just ridiculous for financial and just pure common sense reasons. But as we know in college football, there are others that will keep pressing the add button. You know, a Tennessee comes to mind, for example. You know, programs in Oklahoma that, you know, they're gonna keep bumping it till they get what they want. But that's big time for Kirby Smart, and he earned it. Congratulations to him.
So, guys, can you rattle off who are the ones making $9 or more million a year? Yeah, let's say there's 5 to 6. It might be 4 to 5. I don't know.
Saban, Lincoln Riley,
Dabo.
Mel Tucker, right? Mel Tucker's got
Brian Kelly,
Jimbo
Fisher, Dabo Sweeney, Nick Saban, Mel Tucker, 10 years, $95 million. And I didn't see Lincoln Riley on this list, but I'm sure that's just the names that were a part of this article when the story was released as well. Wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. And, man, that's good for all of them. Good for them. The 10-year, $95 million deal is kind of what has been the high standard, the high ceiling. Dabo, $10.93, Tucker, $10.95, Kelly, $10.95. Jimbo Fisher will be $90 million over 10 years. He just got the extension. And then there's Saban, who signed an extension in August of last year, gets $10.6 million through 2028 per year. Smart, again, $10.25 this year. At the end of the extension, and he'll probably redo it again if he keeps doing what he's doing, he probably will, is $12.25. Lots and lots of cash. Matt Brown of